Hey, welcome to the Straightport Podcast. We're your hosts, Joshua, and
Tushar.
in this podcast, we'll give our opinions on our favorite sports, which are basketball, soccer, and wrestling. We enjoy talking about sports, and we wanted to give our opinions on it, so we thought the best way to do this was to start our own podcast, Straight Sports.
So let's get this show started. The first topic we will be covering is the Gold Cup. In the finale, USA wins 1-0 against Mexico. The winning goal was scored by Miles Robinson in the 117 minute of extra time. So bro, what do you think? Do you think the USA earned the Gold Cup victory, or did Mexico just blow it?
If I'm being honest, I actually think that the U.S. I mean, they did earn it because they took their chances. Mexico was being sloppy with the ball, even though they did have more possession, but they weren't like hitting all their shots. I believe they shot like what was it, 22%. They took 22 shots and only five on target. Like that's not good enough, you know. So I feel
Yeah.
like Mexico blew it, and the U.S. just took that one chance they had to seal the game, and they did it. So
Yeah, yeah.
pretty well.
I'm gonna have to agree uh, on you on this. I think as much as to me, I think Mexico blew it as much as USA actually earned it. So if we go through the stats, as we can see, the possession was dominated by Mexico, 64-36.
Hmm.
They had more shots, but the same amount were on target. Their percentage on target was about like 22%, which is very bad. They were more aggressive. They were the more aggressive team. The USA was the better team defensively. They were able to win the clearances and the interceptions, but
Yeah,
I do believe with the opportunities that Mexico had, they really blew it. Congrats to USA. I think they definitely earned. They took advantage of the way Mexico didn't take advantage, USA did. So I do think uh, the USA, in some sense, earned it, but this is more on Mexico.
yeah,
You can't take 22 shots and just make five.
yeah.
That's just
Like
that's
they
just
had
and
like almost 200 more passes than the U.S. and they couldn't
yeah,
get a
and
goal. Like
and
that's horrible.
and the possessions, like I reiterated, the possessions are still in favor of Mexico by a large
Hmm.
majority. And most of the time, the team that dominates a possession like that, they would win not 1-0, they would win like 4-0. But at
Yeah,
the end of the day, USA is victorious, and I know for Mexico this is tough, but for USA this is a big win to beat their rivals in the Gold Cup. Um,
yep.
so as we go on to the next question, bro, do you think that this can help the United States in qualification for the World Cup coming up in 2022?
If I'm being honest, I don't think so because the USA won games here because they're better than like the competition. Like they're not playing any like elite teams in the Gold Cup outside of like I'll say what Mexico. That's pretty much it. Like that's the only like top team that I think can make the World Cup from that group. So I think sure like it looks nice for them to have the win here, but I don't think they're on level to compete in the World Cup. They may qualify, but I don't know how far they go. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Even though they beat Mexico, which is I think very incredible.
yeah,
It's a very incredible accomplishment. I don't think, I do believe they have a shot at qualifying, but I believe even though Mexico lost, I believe Mexico has always qualified for the World Cup and they will continue to do that. And the USA, if they're lucky to qualify, their ceiling might be the round of 16, and that's about it. I
I
don't
agree.
see them making it any further than that. So I do think this is still impressive. It can build some momentum for them going into qualifying because last time USA did not qualify for the World Cup. So let's see if they're able, to qualify. But in my opinion, if USA didn't qualify, I wouldn't be very shocked. I do hope they qualify, but
Hmm.
their ceiling to me is round of 16. I'd be shocked if they was able to go any further than the round of 16.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our second topic. ESPN reports that Messi is not re-signing with Barcelona because of the financial fair play rule and Barca's inability to clear salary. According to NBC Sports, Messi has reportedly agreed to join PSG, and this has become official now. He is a member of PSG.
Hmm.
So, bro, what do you think? What's your initial reactions to this of him joining PSG?
Well, if I'm being honest, like I'm not surprised because like there's not many other clubs that can pay his wages. Like he was making upwards of what 50 million a season on wages alone, not including sponsors and bonuses. So there's only really two, three clubs in the world that can really pay that. So one of them being PSG. Man City just spent 100 million on a player, so they can't afford it right now. So I mean, I wanted him to stay, but I kind of expected him to join PSG. Like that was my first prediction. You know.
I see. So if my initial reactions to this is I don't, usually soccer and basketball are very different sports, but if you relate it to, it kind of reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
I look at this as a team like a super team. It's like
Yep.
big name stars coming together. Neymar, um, Mbappe, who's won the World Cup with France. Neymar has,
Mm-hmm.
also I believe if I'm correct, he's won the Copa or he's won the Olympics.
The Olympics.
The
I
Olympics.
believe he
So
wants
not
a Copa
yeah, he
too, but
was in the finals against Messi, right? So, and Messi was able to be victorious and win his first Copa Cup. So yeah, my bad on that. So, anyways, I do believe I compared this to the 2017 Golden State Warriors with that kind of talent. It looks like it's
mm-hmm.
very talented, big name stars, and it looks like they're destined for multiple championships. So that's my initial reaction. Is it's scary time in soccer.
Yep.
So my next question is how deadly can PSG be?
I feel like the names are great on paper, but they're only as deadly as they want to be. Because in previous years, they've had top talent. They've had Mbappe, they have Neymar, they have Di Maria, and they've yet to go far in the Champions League. Like they've made like semifinals, but they haven't gone to like the final level winning. So I feel like can Messi take them over the hump? I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. So just to confirm, so that means PSG hasn't won any major titles yet.
Oh, they have, but just not like with this current like
Oh, not
setup and
with this,
roster.
like not with this current Mbappe,
Yeah,
Jordan,
yeah,
and Neymar. They haven't won with those. So how long
yeah.
has it been since they won it?
I'll be a couple years.
A couple of years. Oh, actually, I did not know. So that's good. You know some more soccer than me, so
Yeah,
that's good. You let me know. But I think how deadly they can be, there should be a lot of pressure on them.
yeah.
To win. With the team they got. I mean, yes. You look at like I'm relating to basketball. You have big name stars like Golden State who built the super team. You expected them, to win, and anything less than that'd be shocking. But
Yeah.
they have the talent. I mean, I don't how many right now. I believe Messi signed a 2-year deal, so at least in these, how many years he decides, if he decides to stay to PSG for at least a few years, I think at least 2 to 3 titles is a minimum. They nothing
Hmm.
less. If they were somehow not successful at getting any championship, this would be a fail. So this championships, the pressure is there, and
Hmm.
they must win a championship.
And they didn't even win the league last year. Like their own domestic league, they didn't win it. They finished second. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah. So but with Messi, I think now the pressure's on you. If you can't get it done now, then it can go. Things can go pretty bad. They got to
mhm,
win. The pressure's on Messi now even more. Neymar and Mbappe got to step up. Especially Mbappe. I know in the Euro Cup he had. People
yeah,
said that he had not his best tournament, right? So
mhm,
this is a chance for him now to kind of, the World Cup is coming too, for him to redeem himself and also kind of win a title. I know he was very upset, from the Euro Cup, but this team is they have the talent as long as they, they show up and play like the way they usually play. They don't do anything extra. I expect them to win
mhm,
the championship.
yeah.
So on to the last question of this topic. With the Barcelona losing their top star, what should Barcelona do next?
I honestly feel like they should just start with the youth. Like that's their only option. Like they can't afford to sign these top players anymore, like they've been doing. They're so used to just sign like the best player in the world every year, the top upcoming players. They can't do that anymore. They're out of money. So I feel like they
Mm,
just gotta go with the youth. They have a good youth. Great, there's some
yeah,
great youth players: Dembele, De Jong, Pedri. So they just gotta stick with that and try to rebuild because there's nothing else they can do really. You know?
yeah. It looks like the best ways to rebuild. I would agree on that situation. I think it just makes the most sense. You lost your star player.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just kind of start from being young. It's kind of like in a sense, not completely, but like how some NBA teams, like for example, um, the Houston Rockets,
Hmm.
when they traded James Harden, now they're on a rebuild. So it's kind of like once you lose your big player, it's kind of starting off new. Yeah, you might not be able to get to the top for some time, but it's a
Yeah.
process. They did have a lot of success, right? So Barcelona, if I'm correct.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that Messi actually wanted to leave last season. He said he wanted to leave.
Oh
They
yeah,
said
that's
no.
true. And then he wanted
So
to stay, and
yeah.
then now they can't sign. They
So
didn't have the
so
space
now
to
he's
sign
gone.
him. Yeah, it's
Last
definitely.
season, I guess he should have sold him because now he's leaving for free. You know, it's
Oh
crazy.
yeah, maybe you could have potentially you could do a trade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They can
so
do a
that's
swap.
you could do like a swap. Yeah, so it's definitely it, it is what it is. But I think we both agree the rebuild makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, next topic.
Topic three. So in shocking news, WWE star Bray Wyatt, whose real name is Wyndham Lawrence Rotunda, was released by the company, and the reasoning was because of a budget cut. What is your initial reaction to that?
Actually, being a fan of WWE,
Yeah.
it's very shocking. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
anybody saw this coming. He was one of those guys. Um, if he showed up, um, you're gonna watch, and that's how I felt. He brought views in. A lot of people loved his gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
He came with a character called the Fiend. Kind of like this kind of scary kind of gothy kind of character, kind of related to people made some comparison to the Undertaker. It was a really good
Mm-hmm.
character. I do think the company messed it up, with him losing to some like a part timer like Goldberg when he came back. And Goldberg's a phenomenal wrestler, but you have to, make your superstars that are full time in their prime rise, and
Yeah.
get them over and make them the top of the top. And I think the company, he had a great gimmick, and they made him lose a lot, which some places you're like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. It was definitely shocking.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the Raw, and I see fans are screaming, chanting, "We want Wyatt."
Yeah.
You check on their Instagram pages, they keep on chanting that they want him back, and the company's been releasing a lot of stars, and they've continued to do it, and it's very shocking. But this one has to be the biggest shock. He's a big name star, but I hope the company, you know will bring him back. But
Yeah.
it seems like he's gone, and this is it's very upsetting, and this shouldn't have happened. But what can be done now?
Yeah. No one likes to see like people get cut because of budget. Like it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing
Yeah,
to feel.
yeah. Especially the reason was given budget cut, where
Yeah.
there's some stars over there that people say they're all these stars are phenomenal and very talented, but the other stars that that you see is like, okay, you have a guy who's a part time who doesn't really show up that much.
Mm-hmm.
He's under contract, but a guy who's shows up week after week, he's cut,
Yeah.
and you cut a lot of big name stars. And I don't, and if it's budget cuts, okay, but like this, there's ways to work around this, but to cut a
Mm-hmm.
big name stars, it can affect them, especially the amount of merches I heard they sell.
Yeah.
Um, because of him, he was their merches were uh, merchandise sales for that character was up, but it is what it is. But it's definitely upsetting. I really hope one day he'll come back. I want him back in the
Yeah.
WWE.
Do you think like this is like signaling like the downfall of the WWE? Because there could be more top stars on their way out, because of budget. So we think about that.
Uh, I think now if like for some reason like they made something crazy where they're like John
Yeah.
Cena got released, then everybody would be shocked. But that should not have
Yeah.
happened. But him, them releasing a lot of stars, I think it's that there's a thing now. I think the WWE doesn't believe there's competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new like a new lot of wrestling shows that have been on the rise, but they've never been on the level of WWE.
Yeah.
But like they have Impact Wrestling, they have a lot of these wrestling, other wrestling programs except the WWE. Um, and Now they have a show called AEW, and it's not on WWE's level yet, but closely it can. There's been rumors, CM Punk is one of the big favorites in the WWE. A lot of fans are huge fans of him. They've been chanting for so many years to bring him back,
Yeah.
and there's been rumors that he's in AEW. Then Daniel Bryan, who's also a big WWE star, has a big yes chant. He's he's a phenomenal wrestler. He's potentially on his way to AEW, and now we have, now with Bray Wyatt being released, maybe
Mm-hmm.
this could be he could join, and with another star in Braun Strowman. Is just the WWE keeps releasing, and AEW keeps taking advantage of it. And I don't know,
Yeah.
but this is not a smart move. I don't think you should be helping your competition, especially this kind of talent that they just
Yeah.
released.
Maybe they feel he's replaceable. I don't know.
That's possible, but it's hard to replace. Maybe there is a superstar already. Her
Yeah.
name's her wrestling name is Alexa Bliss, who they were working together, and they gave her that gimmick.
Yeah.
Um, there was a lot of people I heard that trying to blame her for him being released because she worked with him and they were
Hmm.
both having kind of had this kind of gimmick going together, but it's definitely not her fault. She's not going to decide. The company's going to decide if they want to release. Not her fault, but so I think that's not fair for people to criticize her. Definitely not. But it's still because she has kind of a similar gimmick of him. So it seems like now
Yeah,
she's the one who's carrying the gimmick while he's out. But they both together were better. But it's not her fault. It's definitely company made a big mistake.
yeah. So on to the next topic. Free agency officially started on August 2nd at 6 p.m., but contracts could not be signed until August 6th at 12 p.m. So there's a lot of movement in the NBA, and teams are even falling down the rankings because of their signings. So who do you think are the biggest winners, losers, and what are some of the surprises you've seen?
All right, so I guess let's start off with the big. I think the biggest winners.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams. I'm gonna go with the Chicago Bulls, and I'm gonna say that because I don't believe they are a title contending team now. Right? I do think they still have ways to go, especially the how competitive the East has gotten now with teams like Brooklyn, Miami, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Knicks, all these teams on the rise. But why do I believe they are the biggest winners of free agency? They were able to get Vucevic in the trade deadline of the previous season, which Milwaukee Bucks were who won the championship,
hmm,
and then from there the expectation of Zach Levine, Vucevic, they pair two stars together. Maybe they can make a push for this playoffs, at
yeah,
least get into the play-in. Unfortunately, things went south. They weren't able to make it. And then now free agency comes. You see Lonzo Ball signs with the Chicago, which I thought was a big addition because it's somebody who will make everybody around the court better. He's a
yeah,
great passer, and he had one of his best seasons in New Orleans. And when he's aggressive, he's even better. He's an elite passer. He can be a triple double threat at times.
hmm,
But he can get you 11 assists, 10 points, and it's going to help Levine make his job a lot easier. He can handle the basketball.
yeah,
And then you add a guy like DeMar, a guy who's hasn't had a lot of playoff success. He's been to an Eastern Conference Finals. He's been to some second rounds. He's been to first rounds. He's never really gotten to the finals. But he's definitely an all-star caliber. He's a guy who can average 20. He's a great playmaker. We saw that in San Antonio, the way he
hmm,
was able to play make. And you add him, and I look at Chicago as a top 4 to 5 seed in the East, and then also adding Alex Caruso, a great kind of point guard off the bench who runs the pace, who likes to play fast.
yeah,
I just think they still have Patrick Williams. I just I really am a fan of this team, and I really think these additions, Chicago Bull fans have something to be excited about. And I do believe they're gonna make the playoffs, and I think their ceiling right now to me looks like second round.
hmm. I honestly have to agree. Like they did great business. They got Lonzo, which was their long-term target. They did sign Caruso, and I think they're trending in the right direction. DeRozan was a steal because they only gave up what was it?
They just gave
I
up like
believe
Thaddeus Young, I
Alfred
believe,
Camino and Thad Young. Like
yeah,
that's
and
a
some
steal.
picks, I believe.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're trending in the right direction. Like they're trying to go for it.
Yeah, but I
So
did hear that Laurie Markkinen doesn't want to return to Chicago. He wants a
yeah,
new home. So I'm interested to see if he leaves. Will that
hmm,
be like kind of like a sign and trade as well?
yeah.
Maybe
I
they
think it
can
might
get
be.
some assets in return. But still, to get Demar for really
Hmm,
not too much, that's impressive. They really, Thaddeus Young is a great player. But Demar's an all-star, and it's impressive for what they had to give up to get him. It's a win. Chicago definitely
yeah.
stole that trade.
Another winner I have to say is this might be a surprise, but the Clippers, man. I
Uh,
think their biggest win was re-signing Kawhi because if Kawhi left, who knows where that team would be.
oh man, as me as a
Even though he's
huge,
out for the season, but
yeah, he's potentially out for the season. But yeah. So go ahead, you were saying.
it's good. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. As you know, I'm a Kawhi fan, so wherever Kawhi go, I go. So it's kind of who I am, right? So
Yeah,
Uh, but when I thought, if he was gonna leave the Clippers, I thought Miami made some sense. I thought Dallas to me would have been great. Pairing Luca and Kawhi, probably that could be go
hmm,
down as the greatest dynamic duo. In NBA history, there's obviously, Kobe, Shaq. There's a lot of better ones, but they can go up in those top dynamic
yeah,
duos. they could have been up there. But him resigning with Clip, I was very happy about that. I do think they've given him everything he wanted. He wanted Paul George, he got him. He wanted, I think, I believe he was the one to, and him and Paul George, to get Doc Rivers out and bring in a new coach. He got
Yeah.
Ty Lue. Whatever he wanted, he got it. The franchise gave him everything. He got like the keys to the kingdom, as they say.
Yeah.
Uh, and whatever he wants, like I said, he gets, and it just makes sense for him to resign. The franchise did everything for him, and I do believe this. You are right. I do believe the Clippers big win, because if Kawhi is not there, I mean, their team is good, but
Yeah.
no chance. Maybe playing is that's them. They might make it to the play-in, but
Yeah.
hopefully he returns this season. But if he comes back the same, the Clippers are still a title contending team. But
Mhm.
another winner, I'm gonna have to say, is the Miami Heat. I think, adding Kyle Lowry, a guy
Yeah.
who's averaging like, you know, who averaged so many, points. He gets assists. He's a pit bull on defense. He kind of does it.
Mhm.
He does it all. So and he fits the Heat culture. Jimmy's has extended his contract, which is good news. Duncan Robinson to re-sign that, one of probably the best shooters in the NBA when it comes to shooting that three ball.
Yeah.
Um, Signing Victor Oladipo to the minimum. Wow, like that's impressive. Um, then there's a I don't know his name specifically, but there's a player I think they drafted, if I'm correct. His
Yeah.
name was Omar.
Yeah. I've heard about
And
him. He played really
and
well in
he's
summer
been
league.
yeah, he's been cooking in the summer league, and now he's signed, and he looks like a gem. I think his stat line was
Yeah.
27 and 29 points and 17 rebounds, if I'm correct. So he's been dominating. I heard his he's not the best defensively, but he can
Mhm.
that heat culture will fix that. He did get some block shots. Not too
Yeah.
sure on the stats completely, but they got a deep bench. Oh yeah, we forgot the biggest steal of all. I think one of the second biggest steals, I think, because Kyle Lowry is the biggest addition, I believe, to the Heat. But PJ Tucker, getting PJ
Yeah.
Tucker from the team that just won the
Great move.
championship, that's really impressive. And now they look like they can be one of the best defensive teams in the league. And I do believe, in my opinion, they are the second best team in the East. And I think they look like they can make a finals run. But I believe the Nets are the favorites in the East. So Eastern
Yeah.
Conference Finals is definitely a likely. If Heat and Bucks are able to collide in the playoffs again,
Yeah.
it could be a really great series. It can go to 7.
Well, I guess we're one of the losers. And in my opinion, even though what you just said, I think the Heat are one of the biggest losers in free agency.
Really? How
Yes,
so?
I have to say it. I have to say it. You trade Dragic for Lowry. Is Lowry really that much better than Dragic? Is he really? And on top of that, it's a huge contract. It's a huge
That
contract.
okay.
Two, Jimmy Butler. You give Jimmy Butler what was it, a 4 year, 125, 4 year,
184, I believe.
184 million. That's
Yep.
gonna carry him
Yeah.
till he's 35.
That's yeah. He's definitely getting paying
35.
a lot. But
That's
I do
big
believe he
money.
built the Heat culture. You know what I'm saying? Like he
He
built it.
did, but that's a lot of money. And you're telling me that they believe that adding who was it, PJ Tucker, and adding Kyle Lowry is gonna take them over the Bucks. They just got swept in the last playoffs. I'm telling you, like, I'm sorry, but I don't think that's enough for them to you know. I feel like I'm not saying it's wasting money, but I think that they took it out. They overpaid for Jimmy, they overpaid for Lowry, and yeah, I see them in the same spot again last year. I think if they play the Bucks this year, they might win one game. It might be a gentleman's sweep, maybe two games, but there I can't see them advancing past the second round. If I'm being honest.
You know, I'm gonna. I do think you have some great points, but I do think because the Heat, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
I do think they will make it to the Eastern Conference Final. I believe they're better than Milwaukee, and why I'm saying that is because I think, yes, I know they got swept last year, and they really haven't
Mm-hmm.
made major changes to their team. But I think Lowry he brings playmaking. I think something that he brings defense. He brings
Yeah.
everything. I mean, he still has it. Yes, he's an aging star, but he's playing at a very very high level.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing PJ Tucker defensively, he will make it tough. He can guard your other team's best players. I think because the Heat is in win now mode, even though they're more like Lowry's more of an on the aging stars, and so is PJ Tucker. They do
Yeah.
have some young. They still have Tyler Hero. They have Duncan Robinson. They have uh, they have a lot of still. They have some young depth still. But I do think adding Lowry to me, it's Dragic is great. He was great for them, but Lowry elevates them in a better position. And let's not, a few in the bubble, the Heat beat the Bucks in five
Yeah.
games, right? So
True.
and they made a only change that the Bucks really made was they brought in Drew Holiday. That was their major difference, right? Everybody
Hmm.
else was majority not big. They did bring Bobby Portis, but majority of the team was similar, right? So like Giannis and Chris still built around them with Drew. So as the Heat have done a similar thing, but they brought Lowry, same as the Bucks who brought Drew. They brought Lowry, and Lowry can be at times a second option. He can be at
Yeah.
first. His role can be third. I believe this is a great fit. We will see what happens this season, but I do believe they are the biggest winners. But I can understand the concerns that you have why they're being
Yeah.
biggest, why they're biggest loser. But I'm gonna say who's the biggest loser. To me,
Hmm.
I think it's very simple. It's the Portland Trailblazers. I mean,
True.
you bring in, you want Dame wants to stay. It's clear his loyalty and his love is for the franchise. He doesn't want to leave, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't want to join like those kind of super teams, right? But I mean, the franchise really, they signed. I believe they signed Ben McLemore. They signed Cody Zeller
Tony Snow.
and Tony Snow. Like these are great acquisitions, but these are not going to put them over the hump. I
Yeah.
don't see them being better than the
Same.
Lakers. I don't see them better than Golden State. Denver, Utah, Phoenix, Dallas will still be tough for them. Clippers, if healthy, they're better.
Yeah.
There's teams on the right. Memphis, I see them in a play-in game scenario. I do think they could make the playoffs, but first round would be their ceiling again.
Hmm.
And I've been, so I think if Dame still seems like he wants to stay, but I don't believe they will
Yeah.
get out the first round. So I do think they're one of the biggest losers in free agency because the point was to help Dame, make him happier, um, building a better team. But I do think there's a factor playing in Portland. A lot of stars don't want to go there, right? It's a small
Yeah.
market. It's unfortunate, but that's how small markets are. You don't. When LeBron was in Cleveland, he couldn't. A lot of players didn't come there. Now he's
Hmm.
on the Lakers. You see who is coming. You
Yeah.
got a lot of stars there. So it's unfortunate. It's sad. I want Dame to win a ring for sure one day, but I do believe it's the time that he needs to axe out and move on. And I think Philly would be a great option for him.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
another loser. Wait, we go ahead.
yeah, you go ahead.
Another loser. I say, I'm a Spurs fan. I think the Spurs did horrible, horrible in free agency. We
Uh,
signed Zach Collins, a
yeah,
guy who
injury
played what
prone.
11 games in 2 seasons.
He's
Like,
injury prone for sure.
I don't get it. We got Alfred Camino and Thad Young back for DeRozan.
Yeah, that's not. But I
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah.
I guess
But
we are in a rebuilding state right now.
yeah,
So I guess we're just trying to like
rebuild. I think
I don't even know. Like,
yeah, I think it makes sense. I believe when the Spurs traded for Kawhi, right?
yeah,
When they had to trade Kawhi and they brought DeRozan, I didn't like that trade because I thought, when you lose your top star, why are you trying to compete? DeRozan and Aldridge are a great
yeah,
duo, but they weren't going to be good enough to get you to a finals, right? So
mm-hmm,
it's a respectful thing. Even though how great of a coach Pop is, he made them compete. They made it to first round. Last 2 years, they didn't make the playoffs. DeRozan's great. Um, he was great for them, but they should have, I believe, rebuilt it from the start. There was an offer. I believe Boston was going to give them a lot of picks for Kawhi.
yeah,
Maybe they should have done a trade like that. Maybe they could have got a top pick, and now they're building around a superstar player. I don't see us right now. It doesn't look like they have a superstar. They're gonna just
yeah,
have to build around Kendall Johnson, DeJounte Murray, Derek White.
yeah,
I do like now that they're finally going to rebuild. I think that's the correct thing to do for this
mm-hmm,
franchise. I think they lost Kawhi. DeRozan is great, but I don't think he elevates you to contending level. So I just think this is a great move to rebuild. So I do
yeah,
agree they're the biggest losers, but it's finally a start to rebuild for them. So I'm happy they're starting to rebuild. It just makes the most sense. But I wish they started earlier instead of trying to get DeRozan when
yeah.
they traded Kawhi.
My biggest surprise. Well, actually, I have two big surprises, but I'll say one at a time. First, Dennis Schroeder to the Celtics. Probably what was it? 6 million? How much was it?
I think it's 5.9, and he
Yeah,
could have
around
got
six
84
million.
million. Yeah,
Like he turned down 84 million.
he
Like he
bet
has
it
to
on
read the
himself.
market. Like I'm sorry, but that was he should fire his agent today because that's a horrendous move. Like why would you turn down 84 million?
That is true. I'm wondering if that was Dennis Schroeder's decision or the agent
Yeah,
influenced
who
him to
knows?
do that.
Like it's shocking. Like and you you had that much in your hand and you turn it down because you think you can get 100 million. Like, come on now. Like, like there's no way that even makes sense. Like, there's players that are a higher caliber than him getting less. So I mean, it's just kind of confusing. I mean, the Celtics do get a steal, and it's a 1 year deal, so maybe we try to get more next season. But I
Yeah,
feel like that was shocking. And another surprise was Kemba Walker to the Knicks. I think that's a great move. He was coming off for like an injury season, so I think he can regain his form on the Knicks, play well, just put him numbers and try to
yeah.
get him back in the playoffs.
I'm happy for Kemba. I like this addition
Yeah.
for the Knicks, who I think a lot of people felt like they didn't have the best free agency, but adding the Knicks have been a great defensive team last year
Hmm.
with Tom Thibodeau, but what they lacked was if Julius Randle and Derrick Rose couldn't get buckets, they would struggle. So Julius Randle he struggled during the playoffs. For his first year being kind of the man of the team.
Yeah.
He didn't have the best player. Derrick Rose was great in the place. He did the best he could. But after that, they didn't have anybody, kind of to get their own shots and stuff like that. So I think adding Kemba will, add a dynamic of scoring that they didn't have. And adding Evan Fournier, also, a guy who can, he can. I mean, we saw he was able to beat Team USA
Yeah.
when he was on with France in the group stage match. I know they lost in the finals, but he shocked the world by beating USA. He was one of the major reasons why. But I think a great
Yep.
addition, a guy who can make threes, right? He's a guy who can, you know, um, uh, sh- uh, he can get buckets. So I think this is a
Hmm.
great addition for the Knicks. And yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you with the. I think one of the biggest surprises. It kind of caught me off guard. Russell Westbrook to the Lakers.
Yeah.
I know it was talked about, but I didn't know if it was gonna actually happen. It's been questionable about the fit with him and LeBron, and so it was kind of a shocking move because LeBron is a kind of guy who likes to play with a lot of shooters surrounding him. So Russ doesn't. He adds an element of playmaking, which I think LeBron's been on a lot of teams. I don't think he's had that elite of a playmaker, right? Like
Yeah.
Russ, because he's played with Kyrie Irving, who's more of a scorer, right? He played with D Wade. D Wade's a great facilitator too.
Yeah.
And in his second year with the Lakers, he played with Rondo, who's an icon. He's
Yeah.
like an icon when it
Yeah.
comes to he's one of the best passers. But Rondo is a little more. He was older, he didn't play full minutes. But Russell Westbrook, a guy who's average double every year basically. So it is. I like the addition. I know that one's still shocking um, to me, but I think this is a good is a good move for the Lakers. It's they have now a three three headed monster type
Yeah.
of star power, and I expect the Lakers potentially to be in the finals. But
Hmm.
yeah, now let's go on to the next topic. Who had a better free agency, Lakers and or Nets? Both teams have emerged as title favorites following some of their signings. As the Lakers, they signed Carmelo, Trevor, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, Dwight Howard, Kendrick Nunn, Kent Bazemore. The Nets had signings as with adding Patty Mills, James Johnson, DeAndre Bembry, Blake Griffin re-signed, Bruce Brown re-signed, and they lost Jeff Green uh, in free agency. Who Jeff Green is now in Denver. So
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that? Who you think had the
I,
better free agency?
I gotta say the Lakers, like I don't think like it's even close. They added Westbrook. They added a ton of shooting. A lot of veterans, Melo, Ariza. They added some young guys too. Kendrick Nunn,
Yeah.
Malik Monk, and they added
Uh,
shooting. Like I feel
Taylor
like
Horn Tucker's back too.
yeah, like I feel like they addressed like most of the issues.
Yeah.
Then they got better. I feel like the Nets, like sure they added some pieces. They lost Jeff Green, who was a key piece.
I do like the
And
fact that they re-signed Patty Mills. I think he's going to be a
yeah,
big piece for them.
I agree. But I feel
But
like it's not even close. It's
yeah,
Lakers for me.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I believe the Lakers, like they won by far. I mean, people said that the issue with this team was their shooting, right? And then you
Yeah.
go out there getting Melo, who yeah he's aging, but he had a great season in Portland, coming
Hmm.
off the bench, averaging I believe he averaged 13. There was some games I saw him drop over 25 plus.
Yeah.
So Melo's a guy. He can spot up and shoot. You can give it to him in the post. He can
Hmm.
get his own shot. Great addition. Trevor Ariza, You saw what he did when he was in Houston with James and CP3. Elite defender, can shoot the three ball. Malik Monk, young, very young player. He can shoot the three ball. Wayne Ellington, he can shoot it. The three ball brought back the Dwight Howard, who was going to be a great fit for them. Kendrick Nunn, another guy who we see him get his own shots as well in Miami. He's a great
Yeah.
point guard. Kemp Bazemore, great addition. I mean, the Nets to me the only big signing that I see with them is they getting Patty Mills because he can shoot. He can average about 10 points. I like the
Yeah.
signing, but the Lakers, the Nets probably are the better 3-point shooting team overall with KD, James, Kyrie, and but actually now it's hard to say because the Lakers had a lot of shooting, but
Yeah.
their main three stars aren't known for, but LeBron and Russ and can shoot. Russ can shoot the three. LeBron shoots it at times, but they're better at when they're attacking.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The Lakers are, the the they won free agency over the Nets big time, and even though people are concerned about their age, I expect this team. Uh, I have them. Actually, I have a question. What do you think? Do you think the Lakers are going? Between if the Lakers and Nets if they were able to meet up in the finals, everybody
Yeah.
healthy, who do you think could win the series? Both teams healthy.
Hmm. I I want to say the Nets because I feel like their roster is just like they have like the more talent.
Yeah,
When
I,
you compare it, like their big three versus their big three, arguably they're better.
yeah.
But I feel like the Lakers added a lot of pieces, so it's going to be a tough. I don't know at this point. It's 50-50.
But if you was gonna pick a team, who would you pick and how many games?
I'd probably say, hmm, mm, I have to say Lakers in 7 because when you think about it, who's if you match them up, like who's stopping LeBron? I guess you could argue that KD,
Uh,
Anthony Davis, they lost Jeff Green,
yeah,
so who's going to be playing? Who's going
their
to be his primary
center.
defender?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
their
it's
center
like
position
Lakers.
is not too strong, right? Like
Yeah,
DeAndre Jordan's great, but they usually play small ball. Blake Griffin's
yeah,
not stopping 80 healthy. They have two of the top 5 players in the world. So do the
yep,
Nets with James and KD. But I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna go with Lakers in 7, and I think why I'm going Lakers in 7. The Nets big three, I think, is better, right, than the Lakers big three because you
yeah,
have KD, James, and Kyrie. But people question that they're fit. Maybe it wouldn't work. It worked. It worked great when
yeah,
healthy. It worked. The Lakers big three is questionable, but I believe it's gonna fit because when you want to win a championship, you do whatever it takes
hmm,
to make it work, and I expect them to make it work. And why I'm leaning towards the Laker because I look at it as LeBron and KD to me are both gonna get their numbers. I don't think either of them is gonna get
yeah,
stopped really. I think both of them will kind of get their way. Um, James is the same, Kyrie is the same. AD will get his way because there's really nobody who can guard AD um, on the Nets when he's
yeah,
healthy, and Russ will be in attack mode. It's a tough battle, but I do believe the Nets have the better big three. But I look at the bench, I like the the Lakers bench a lot better, even though they're a little more older. To
yeah,
me that doesn't really matter. I believe they will uh, beat the Nets. I'm hoping,
yeah,
of course, as a fan of Kawhi, I'm hoping it's the Clippers and the Nets, right? And the Clippers are the champions because I believe if the Clippers weren't injured, like Kawhi wasn't injured, I believe they would have. According to the 4 teams that are left, I'm not saying they maybe beat the Lakers, because the Lakers were out already. But the 4 teams that were left, Phoenix, Clippers, um, Milwaukee, and Atlanta, I believe they were better than all 4 of those teams.
yeah,
But I know this was a little off topic, but I just had to get that off my chest. But um, the only thing to me the Nets have to me the biggest acquisition they got was Patty Mills. So he could be a great 6 man. But the Lakers, I like Melo as a 6 man. So
yeah,
it's tough, and I do think it's gonna go to 7. It's gonna go to the distance. It will be I think one of the best series ever. But I agree. I think the Lakers would be victorious, but I think like if the Nets won, I wouldn't be like so surprised, right? Because it's an even battle. Both teams have 3 stars, 3 stars. Both have great benches. I think the Lakers bench is better, but their big three is a little like a little less better, if that makes sense. Like
yeah,
as the Nets big three, I think the Nets big three Kyrie, James, and Kyrie is better than that big three, but it's very even. Like both big threes are great benches. It will be a great battle. And we're gonna see who's able to who's gonna win. Okay, so now we're on to the last topic. Um, the USA basketball team wins gold. The USA men's basketball team struggled at first with losses against Nigeria, Australia, and France in the early stages of the competition. They rallied together uh, that tough stretch and beat France in the finals, 87-82. They also were able to beat Spain in the quarterfinals, and I believe Spain was leading in the beginning by double digits, and Australia was also leading in double digits in the semifinals by about 15 points, but they were still able to win it. So, bro, what do you think? What are your initial reactions to the win and the tournament in general for the USA?
I feel like they struggled in the beginning, but at the end they just pulled together and they got the win. I guess it's a new group, so that's like learn how to play together. But I feel like they do well considering everything.
Yeah, I'm what I'm gonna have to say is to me is this was expected. They were expected to win. Like this is nothing.
Yeah.
Like all these teams are great. Internationally they France gave it a great fight. But I mean, if the USA lost, you will be remembered as the losers in this comp because you can't
Yeah.
lose. You're telling me yes, you didn't. They didn't bring that they call that B squad. It's
Mhm.
like Steph, LeBron, KD, Kawhi, AD, that kind of squad. Nobody could touch them. But they sent a squad that you still had KD, you still had Dame superstar, Devin Booker's a superstar, right? Zach Levine is a right. He's a star. Chris Middleton's a star. Bam Adebayo's a star. You brought in a lot of all star and like two superstars or three, right? Because I believe Kevin Durant and Dame are that superstar level, and so is
Yeah.
Devin Booker, right? But this is yes, it's for as like I said, this was expected, right? So had they lost, it'd be shocked. But I'm the fact that they only won by 5. I mean, I look at if you look at the rosters, right, of France, you look at who is in the NBA. Rudy Gobert is the only All Star, right?
Mhm.
Nick Batum is kind of a rotation piece, right?
Yeah.
He's a glue guy. Evan Fournier he's not a first option on the team. He's a great player,
Mhm.
but he's not considered a first option. He's kind of like a maybe a third, fourth option on a championship team. Uh, Timothy Luabu Cabaret. I hope I said his name right. He's on the Nets. He doesn't get as much minutes. Frank from the Knicks. I don't know how to say his last name. Is in Nilakina. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I said the name right. There. So and he doesn't really get minutes that much on Knicks. So these kind of 5 NBA players that they have are not on the level of the NBA players that the USA has. So I do personally feel the USA should have won by like 20, 30 points, right? I don't think it should have been as close as it was, right? Because of the star
Yeah.
power they have. But at the end of the day, they still won as expected, no matter how they did it. Kevin Durant was phenomenal. I think he puts himself, as you can see now, Durant has about 3 gold medalists, right? I think he joins Carmelo Anthony. In total, he has 435 points in 22 games. I think he has the most now, right? He averages 19.3 points per game in the Olympics, best of any American star who has played. Um, in 2012 in the finals, 30 points in London, 2016 30 points in Rio, and 2021 29 points in Tokyo. So he's been
Yeah.
phenomenal. But this was expected. If had they lost, they would have got heavily criticized.
I
And
agree.
they're the winners. And yeah, that's about it, right? So that's about. So I think that concludes our first episode of the Straight Sports podcast. Thank
Yep.
you guys, all of you guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoy, and we will be releasing another episode coming soon. So thank you guys so much.
All right. Thank you.